Hi everyone. This week our focus will be on critical reflection. The past few weeks we talk about reflective journal entries and we focus on reflection using using a 4 steps reflection framework. So I gave you an example whereby there's an example of an entry without using structured guidance or a framework, and you can see that the reflection lacks focus and the issue is not clearly explored. But when you use the 4 steps reflection framework, the reflection is more structured and there is more focus, and you look at one issue, you explore it, you look at what happened, it leads to the solution to the issue and how to improve your future practice. So this 4 steps reflection process that is introduced by York, Barr, Summers, Gear and Monty helps you to write a reflection that is more focused and more structured. So you have done this as a task, and I have several examples that I find interesting for us to look at so that you can see what are the things that you can do to improve your reflections. So we have one example from Nur Fitri Lini. So Fitri, your reflection is good. So we look at her reflection. The first part of the 4 steps is to identify or to explain what happened. So Lini, Fitri's explanation here is that the issue is that the transition for the lyrics are too fast and some are too slow. So it's the lyric of the video which is an issue. However, Fitri, it will be better if you include here what happened to the teaching and learning process. How is this related? How is this issue related to the students and the learning process? For instance, you can add in, because of the transition for the lyrics, which is inconsistent, the students were not able to catch the words, maybe, or they were not able to connect to the poem. So that's what happened to the students and the learning process. So adding that, not only to Fitri, to everyone, okay, because many of the journal reflections lack in this aspect, explaining what happened to the students and the learning process. Alright, so when you add this part, it will be clearer and people can actually see the issue that you want to highlight. Okay, when we move to the second step, why it happened. This is the part whereby you analyze and you interpret. So in this example, Fitri said that I did not put the lyrics at the exact time. That's the issue of synchronizing the song and the lyrics. So this is what happened. So this is her analysis. This is okay. So what have I learned from the incident? The lesson learned is that the video has to be edited again, and the song and the lyrics have to be synchronized. Good. So what should I do next? So you need to make sure that whenever you produce a video, you want to use a video in class, you need to sync the lyrics and the video, the song. So this is good. Alright. We look at another example by Nurul Izzati Rajani. So Nurul Izzati mentioned that the incident that happened is related to the box that she used in the lesson. The students did not seem interested with the box. Alright, so that's what happened. Okay, Izzati, this can be improved by putting in what happened to the students and relate this to the lesson, to the teaching and learning of the lesson. So it'll be better if you put in that part. So you can say something like, the students did not seem interested with the box, which was intended to create an element of suspense. And when the students were not interested with the box, they were not focused on the lesson. They did not, for example, your intention is to teach vocabulary maybe. So they were not able to connect to the vocabulary that were introduced. So this part, the part whereby you talk about the learners and the lesson that happens, or the learning that happened, is very important when you describe what happened. So why it happened is because of the box that you used. They were too small or they were too dark. Right? So this is good. This is the analysis and the interpretation. You're identifying the reason for it. Alright? Next, what have I learned from the incident? I should include more designs and pictures for the box and should use bigger size paper. Very good. Now what? What should I do next? So I should be more careful in designing and deciding the size of the materials. Very good. Okay, I also extracted another example given by Nurul Izzati Rajani because she submitted two different versions. So the second version is what I want everyone to actually write. This is the way of, even if it's in the form of a table, the one that I shared earlier. The explanation is the one that I feel need to be improved. Alright, even if it's in the form of a table, explanation should be like this, the one that she has written here. So remember, Nurul Izzati lacked in terms of, she mentioned that the box was dull, the students were not interested. What happened is that the students were not interested. But if you look at the green color here, the one that I have highlighted here, these are the part whereby she talks about the students and how this has an impact on learning. When the students threw the box, it was not as interesting as I thought because it did not create any suspense or excitement. Alright, and it would have caught the students' attention if it was bigger and decorated. So these are the things that happen that relates to the students. The students were not interested. When they did the activity, they were not excited. There was no element of suspense or excitement. It did not catch the students' attention. So this is what happened. Right? So here you explain it more elaborately as compared to in the table. So it's very good, Nurul Izzati, that you shared these two versions so that I can actually use it to show that you can actually, it would be better to write this way. Alright, giving the explanation, linking it to the students' experience, and also the teaching and learning process. Alright. Okay, the rest, the same as what you have written in the box. So this is very good. I like Izzati's and Fitri's example. So the most important part that I would like to explain in this lecture actually is on the levels of reflection. So now you know, you have that 4 steps process, and you know how to do a reflection using that model. So one of the things that studies have highlighted is that even when students follow that model, they still reflect at a superficial level. Superficial level means it's not critical. Alright, it's at a level whereby it's just on the surface. There isn't enough analysis and it doesn't relate to the general or social context. So what Van Manen proposed is a 3-stage model that helps us, you and me as a lecturer, to assess the level of your reflectivity. The higher the level of your reflection, the better. Right? So he proposed this 3-stage model whereby the first stage or the lowest level is technical, the second level is practical, and the third level is critical. So many studies have highlighted that student teachers reflect at the technical level, which is the lowest level of reflection. So the technical level is whereby your focus is only on yourself as a teacher and what works in the classroom. For example, you said, I use the box to get students to learn vocabulary, but it did not work. So your issue is related to the box and it did not work. Alright? So that is only at the technical level. But when you added information about the students and what the students are learning, that moves you to the practical level. This is why I mentioned earlier, you should put in what happened. You talk about what happens to the students' experience, as well as you discuss what they in terms of the teaching and learning process. Then it goes up to the practical level. So here, for example, the box were not able to get the students to learn the vocabulary, and then you talk about the how that has impacted this learning of vocabulary. So that will be at the practical level. Alright? If you want your discussion or your reflection to be at the critical level, then you should include moral, social, cultural, political, or ethical criteria in your discussion. You should relate the issue to one of these criteria: moral, social, cultural, political, or ethical. So we have some examples here. If it's technical, which is focusing on the teacher and what works in the classroom, you can see from the highlighted text. The teacher said that the only flaw that I had detected was the time management, right? And where I had taken more time than what I intended to. The activity during production stage is not suitable. So this shows that the focus is on the teacher, right? And what happened in that classroom. If it's the practical level, you can see that it focuses on students' learning experiences. It talks about the teacher's beliefs, assumptions, attitude about classroom practice, and also the actual outcomes. For example, the turquoise highlighted text talks about the focuses on students' learning experiences, whereby they can read the text and few of them were too weak to spell the words. Right? The yellow highlighted text refers to underlying assumptions and attitude of classroom practice. I should reduce my lesson activities. The students need help. I will give them repetition of drilling exercise. And the actual outcome, the green one, students were too weak to perform the task given. Right? So when you talk about students' learning experiences, you talk about your beliefs and what happened, the outcome, then it's at practical level. Now, the last one, the critical level, whereby you take into account the moral, social, cultural, political, or ethical, any of those aspects. For example, alright, after talking about the issue, then the last part you have, as we are moving towards Vision 2020. So the Vision 2020 is the one that talks about, that relates to political, producing future generations that have good command in both national language and also global language, relates to social. This depends on your interpretation. It can be subjective, but it can be related to social context. And as a conclusion, I'll try to improve my teaching by experimenting myself and my students with new teaching technique. I do try out new teaching method in my teaching just to discover which one suits my students the best. I do see the strength and weakness in my teaching. So this relates to the moral aspect, right? You can just choose one aspect to look at, to relate to. Alright, finally, in summary, we have talked about the 4-step reflection framework, Van Manen's 3-stage model, and the levels of reflectivity. So we will be using the critical reflection manual so that we can reach that practical and critical level when we use that particular critical reflection manual that I will give to you later. Thank you, everyone. I'll be giving you feedback on the task on reflection soon. Alright, take care and have a good day. Bye.